Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Foodocracy for Her podcast. Foodocracy for Her is a podcast dedicated to women in the Indian F&B industry. I'm your host, Kalyan Karmakar. Today we'll be speaking to Freny Fernandes, who's the owner of a cafe restaurant called Freny's, which is just about to complete a year. It's located in Bandra in Mumbai. And its specialty is that it offers food from the East Indian community. Now, I'm Bengali. Am I East Indian? Well, apparently not, but let's listen to Freny and figure out why not. So without much ado, let me get Freny on. So there she is, Freny Fernandes. Freny, welcome on board.
Thank
And
you.
lovely to have you joining in. Just a couple of days back, I walked into your restaurant and had some absolutely lovely food, starting with the vegetarian, the potato and brinjal curry in Eastern
Sorry.
masala, the tiger prawns in chinchoni sauce, then of course the sopatel, which I just love, the chorizo pulao, packed all of it and had it at home, so it's lovely. Um, and I believe we have a lot to congratulate you. A month since you got married.
Yes, I did. It's been a month since I got
Yeah,
married.
and first
Thank
week of
you.
February. So next week is the first birthday, 1 year of Frenny's.
1 year of Frenies. Yes, it is.
So we share a common birthday week
Oh, yes.
in the first week of February.
Come over to Frenies.
Yes,
We'll
we'll do
celebrate
a
together.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm just 50 years older than Freddy. But I was telling our viewers that you do continental food, pastries, but also East Indian. And I told them that, I am from Bengal, which is from the east of India,
Yeah, yeah.
Eastern India, but I am not an East Indian. So before like getting more into your story, just tell us who are the East Indians.
The East Indians are the original inhabitants of Bombay. So we were like a community that was spread out throughout. So there's obviously more than just the East Indians. But we were like a mix of community that so there were Kolis, there were the Kunbis, there was like, like the potters and, the farmers. My community is called the Kupari community. We're from Vasai. So it's like a mix, there's Wadwal. So there's all kinds of these different communities that were converted back then by the Portuguese. And then after, so that was like centuries, like whenever ago. And then after the Portuguese left and when the British came in, most of our people used to work for the British East India Company. And to just because that time there were a lot of also Goan Catholics coming into Bombay and working for them, we sort of wanted to differentiate between them and us, and that's how we named ourselves the East Indians, the East Indian Catholics. So that's how we got the name after the East India Company, and we've sort of kept that name for us even now because it's sort of part of our identity and who we are as a community, because we often get confused with like the Goan or Mangalorean Catholics, but there's so much difference in our culture and our cuisine and like just everything in general. So yeah, that's what we
Yeah,
are.
that
That's who we
that that makes it even more special for those of us in Mumbai because from like you said, I mean the Koris, the fisher folks, the East Indians, the Pathare Prabhus, Parsis
are.
to an extent. I mean, all of you were the original sort of inhabitants and settlers of
Yeah.
Mumbai, and of course, then there are people like me who've come from the east. And what's really wonderful is that it was really sad that there was hardly any East Indian food which is available outside of say weddings and things like that.
Yeah.
Lucky because I live in Bandra with a lot of East Indians, and I have friends who are very generous East Indians who fed me some great food. But it's great to have Frennies. But your place. But I was looking at your story, and you studied marketing, BMM, advertising marketing at Xavier's.
Mhm.
So, how did a marketing student become a chef? So, tell me a bit about like your interest in food, how it started,
So I feel like
how
I
it's going.
always.
Like that meme is how it started, how it's going.
Yeah, so the thing is, I always, so even when I was doing BMM and Xavier's, like I started out obviously being interested, and I felt like I was quite creative, and even my parents thought so. So they thought that I should go into like a creative field. But I think since I was 16, so as soon as I started college, I had started baking. And I think a year into Xavier's, I realized that, like I want to become a chef. Like I don't want to like do advertising and all, because I was very into it. And every day I would be trying out new recipes. I would watch all these different shows. I would make stuff and I would take it to college and give it to all of these people and have them try. So every day they would be like, "Oh, what is Fanny getting today?" and all of that. But I just didn't have like the courage to tell my parents back then that, I don't want to do this and I want to do this. And so I was like, okay, let me just finish my course, because no knowledge is ever wasted. I'm like, let me learn this because this might also come in handy someday. And then as soon as I was done with Xavier's, I graduated, and I think within like a week or two, and I had done all the research by then, and I had also prepared myself that, okay, in case, so I'm like, okay, what's the best college for culinary? Like, where can I learn like the best of pastry? And everything took me to the Culinary Institute of America, because the CIA is sort of like like the best. That's where the best of the best from the industry go to learn. And I was like, okay, I have to go to this college. And then I'm like, okay, in case my parents say no, I'm like looking up like student loans and like how do I apply and all of that. So then and my mom was always very supportive, and I feel like I kind of also got this from my mom, because I've seen her growing up like cooking and baking and all of that. So she was very supportive. And my dad, the first reaction when I told him, like, I want to go to the CIA, I want to go to America, and I want to learn how to bake. I don't want to do advertising anymore. So he's like, what? You want to go to America just to learn how to make cakes and all of that? And I was like,
Just to
yeah,
make cake. You should
just
say
to
the
make cake.
CIA is like, James Bond and all of that.
So I don't think he understood that. And even now, I don't feel he still understands what I do.
CIA as Carrie Matheway.
Yeah.
But of course, the late Anthony Bourdain was from there. I mean, that's how we
Yeah.
first got to know about CIA. Yes.
Yeah. No,
So
and
you
so
actually
many
had to
great
create,
chefs.
like in advertising, you would have to pitch to clients. So in a way,
Yeah.
you need to pitch your proposal to your dad.
Yes, actually, it was my sister. I was too scared. I literally went under the blanket, and my sister sort of spoke for me, saying, she wants to do this, this, this. And then I interned at the JW Marriott Sahar here in Bombay.
Yeah.
After that, because in the CIA back then, even to apply, you had to have like a 6-month internship, just so that you were sure of what you were doing and all, because everything looks really good on the outside. When you actually get into it, you see what it is and all of that. So
I
I
think
think
even for American MBA programs, they need you to
to a
work.
six,
Like, for example,
yeah.
when I did my MBA, it was in Calcutta straight out of college. But I think
Hmm.
in the US, they need you to work.
They
And
do. Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, but they don't have that anymore now. So now kids can just apply to the CIA and get in. But back then they had like this thing. And then I think that's when my dad saw me, like he would come there to eat or whatever, just to see me work and stuff. Because that time I was
Would
an
you get a
intern.
discount?
Yeah, yeah. Like not directly, because I was an intern, so I didn't get one, but I had made a lot of friends. But I was literally like scooping ice cream and making waffles and all of that. And then he saw me like
Oh, the waffles at JW Sahara
they're
pretty
very
good.
good.
Sorry
They're
to this
very
thing.
good. They're
But
the best
Kainaz
in
and I just
Bombay.
love it. Kainaz and I love I think these industrial trainees do
Yeah.
great waffles because the other place we really love the waffles are at Sea Lounge at the Taj Mahal.
Yeah.
And the last time we went to compliment the chef who was making the waffles, and then they told us that she's an industrial trainee. I mean, like
Yeah.
a intern.
Yeah.
There's something about interns and waffles. I think
No, they make
it
them
should
at
be
the
kept
because it's
only
the
to it
easiest.
interns.
No,
Chef ko
because
dena hi nahi chahiye. I
no,
think
no.
chefs miss up waffles.
The because the batter is made already by the chef. The intern
Uh,
just has to put it in the machine and make it. So that's the
yeah,
easiest job. So that and scooping ice creams are all the interns' jobs. So
yeah,
then that's what I was doing at JW, and I'm like, that's why my dad like saw me working hard, and we had to carry those big trolleys that you have in the hotels where you fill everything up after the
right.
buffet is done and all of that. So he saw me doing all of that, and he's like, okay, she's actually like serious about it, and she's just not just messing around and stuff. So then he was very supportive and all of that. And then he obviously came to drop me to my college, and
Awesome.
uh, like he was always there ever since then. But yeah, that's how I went to the CIA.
A couple of funny things struck me about a story. One was about you were talking about mom sending food to your work and college and stuff,
Mhm.
right? So,
Yeah.
so my wife is in advertising, And she had this colleague who's an East Indian, Sunil Rego, lives down the road. So his mom used to send all these potato chops and all of that.
Hmm.
And the girls in office, including Kainaz, my wife, she would finish them. And the mom would be wondering that, I'm sending all these potato chops and why is my son so thin? So that was one. And the second funny thing is that the agency where my Kainaz and I met it was also where I was about to say a boyfriend, but husband. But
Husband, now
it's
husband.
it's been a month.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he used to work there, and it's
Yeah.
the coincidence that like you, he got into advertising or studied advertising, and now he with his sister Ankita runs Fresh Catch and Beat Interviewed Ankita. So
Mhm.
it's and I believe both of you and you and Adit, your husband, were in the same class.
Yes, we were in the same class. But
Yeah,
we never spoke back then. We are not we're not friends or anything.
you were
So I
not
think
dating from back then.
no. I mean that's what my dad my husband likes to mess around with my dad saying we were dating since then and all of that. But no. So back then we were like, in our own worlds and all of that. But that's how we say like our story was sort of written by God because we had to meet at the right time and
Yes.
because back then we were completely different people.
It's like they say about, I mean, some of the most famous dishes of your community, the Sopotel or the Vindaloo. It's all slow cooking, right? I mean,
Yes.
it's like you said, your relation, when the timing was right. So similarly, like you need that amount of time for a Sopotel or Vindaloo to get ready. You can't
Yes.
hurry it.
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
now enough of my silly jokes. Now tell me how was the US? I mean, a different country, completely different field, and how was that experience?
So as soon as I went, the thing is, I was actually very happy when I went there because I got to learn so much, and that's exactly like what I was in for. And I never in my life have studied so much. But at the CIA, you could see me with books and notes and like all of that because I was so interested in what is happening. And there was always this competition between me and these two other friends of mine on who will come first in the class or who will do
Which
like the
which
best
countries
cake.
were they from?
So they were all from there. So they were all from New York and the surrounding.
So they were Americans.
Yeah, they were all Americans.
And
But my class
otherwise,
had
we
a lot.
Asians are supposed to have this bad reputation of being all the studious folks.
No, no, we had one of those guys also, but he was not like he was studious, but he was not competitive. He was in his
Uh,
own zone. He was very focused on. He didn't care
uh,
about anyone else. I feel
uh,
like he just wanted to go back and open like a good place of his own and all of that. So he was in his
uh.
own zone. But when I started, that was absolutely like great, like fantastic. I loved the CI. I loved learning. And the thing about the CI is every 3 weeks you're in a new class, so you're learning something new every 3 weeks. So there's like a cakes class that's just like wedding cakes. You do that for 3 weeks. Then you go on to your next class where you do just breads. Then you do like nutrition and like, all the theory based stuff. You also do a lot of math. You learn about food safety and all of that. So it was really fun to sort of learn, all of that. And it was great until I started working so in the middle, so we have like a 2.5 year course, and in between, you have to do a 6 month internship again after your first year. And I was like, I want to learn from the best and all of that. And at that time I had applied in this place where the pastry chef had just won the best pastry chef in the US. So her
Oh.
name is Chef Gaia Oliveira, and the restaurant was Restaurant Daniel. So it's by Chef Daniel Ballou. There was a 3 Michelin star restaurant,
And
and
it
that
has nothing to do with Daniel Patisserie.
no, no, no,
Okay.
no.
Yeah.
So
No,
that
just
was the
making it clear. Yeah.
yeah. No, so that is Chef Daniel Boulud. He's a very celebrated French chef, and he has his restaurant throughout the world. So that was his flagship restaurant. And working there was like, oh my God, like I thought working in India was hard because there's a lot of sexism here, and I obviously was an intern, so then even more of like ragging and all of that. But then when I worked at Daniel, like I realized because there was only French chefs there and hardly any Americans. And I was like, oh my God, like I would literally be crying every day on my way back to work and on my way because
So was
I
there
real
sexism there as well, like in the
there was no
US?
sexism. I feel like the French are just mean to everyone. Like it's equal meanness to everyone. So
It's such a so funny in a way, but not funny, that our last guest was Chef Meena, and
yeah.
she said the same thing that she went to France to work in a restaurant, and like they were so xenophobic.
Yeah, yeah. No, so I didn't really feel so in Daniel. So there was a lot of different people from different because obviously it's in the US, so then it makes a difference there. But I feel like I mean, even though they were mean and like, I feel like the French are very particular about how they want things, especially like in a Michelin star restaurant. They wanted things to be perfect. They wanted things to be done in like a certain amount of time. And they didn't like even the way they want, like they didn't even like the perception, right? Like you're showing that you're working. So even when you're working, they want to see that you're working fast. They don't want to see you, even if you're doing something, they don't want you to see you peeling an apple slowly or whatever.
But
Because as
this
soon
is
as
so different from the image which we have of French, because who are supposed to be, very chilled out. And, if
yeah.
you see Emily in Paris, for example, when
Yeah,
Emily goes from the US and she
yeah,
finds like the French with their, so you're saying
yeah.
that there's very different actually over there.
The kitchen is completely the opposite. So that is
Yeah.
like a completely different like ball game. And the thing is, they have like this um like sort of what do you call it? Like there's this term in the kitchen called sense of urgency. So they're like always do things with like a sense of urgency. And then
Oh.
obviously because it was like a Michelin star restaurant, they wanted everything to be perfect. So I
Hmm.
remember back then, and Daniel had like all different kinds of desserts. So the chef Gaia was making a pear shaped dessert. So it was supposed to be a dessert that had like a pear mousse inside and a pear gelée and all of that. And I had to every day, it was like a ball, but I had to make it look like a pear. So every day I'd be doing it, and every day somebody or the else would come and complain about how the pear shapes were like off or whatever. And it was such a simple thing, yet every day there'd be like, and till the end I was like, struggling with it. And I feel like I had even asked my college people like if I could switch places and go work somewhere else, because at one point I was just so fed up and I would cry every day. And I remember my dad had sent my mom to me for a few days because he was like, just go be with her
Oh.
and yeah, just cheer her up and all of that. But then that was such a great experience because I feel like the amount that I learned from there, that after that I feel like nothing can really, like nothing was too hard after that. And I learned so much about like so many different things. And by the end of it, I guess they also liked me because the chef there, she offered me like a visa after my graduation was
Wow.
done. She's like,
Wow.
come back, because they don't usually do it because it's very
Yeah,
hard
yeah,
to get,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
especially for chefs, because they're
yeah,
already like the French chefs who are very
yeah,
good at it. So she's
yeah.
like, no, no, come back and I'll do your visa and all of that. And I'm like, I'm not coming back here.
You
I'm
said no
done.
to them.
I
You
said
got
no
a
to them.
Michelin
I
star.
was like, I'm going back to India, and I'm because the
How
thing
long
is,
did you work there? In your internship was how long?
so that in restaurant Daniel was 6 months.
Okay. And
Yeah.
and this was like proper, like sometimes people like say that when they take interns is only for like chopping, cleaning and all that, but you got to do hardcore
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. And then you have to sort of work your way up
Ah,
because they start you with all the basic stuff. And
ah,
the thing
ah.
is, they slowly you sort of learn everything. And I was at one like by the end, I was basically doing
Okay. Okay.
everything in the pastry kitchen, and it was quite a great experience actually. Yeah.
And then what happened? So
Uh,
you left after the US, or did you work?
No. So then after the internship, we again go back to college for a year. So I was in college again for a year. And then I also, when I was in college, then after that, I sort of was used to, earning my own money. So I was like, and I was only 19 then. So then I was like, okay, now I don't want to take money from my parents anymore. I mean, of course, for my tuition, yes, but
Yeah.
like for my expenses and stuff. So then I started working also part time at this restaurant called the Bocuse restaurant in the CIA itself. So that was also a French restaurant.
Okay. Okay.
Uh, so that was it's named after Chef Paul Bocuse, which is like this
Oh, yeah.
legendary,
Yeah. Yeah.
French chef, and
Yeah.
he had actually inaugurated that restaurant in the CIA.
Wow.
So I worked there, and after my graduation, I went to the Four Seasons in Disney World, in
Oh,
Florida, to work,
so did
because
you make Mickey Mouse cakes?
no, so in that we had like different shapes. So there we had like brownies, which we would make like that was Mickey Mouse shaped, and then it was quite a different
Donald
experience
Duck and all
actually.
that. No, but
It
I'm
was
sure that there was more complex stuff.
No, there was. But I think there, of anything, if I learned, then it's they had this gelato shop in the hotel. So I really learned how to make good gelatos there actually. So that
Oh.
was my one big like thing that I learned from there.
And
Um,
in a restaurant, I was saying that when I went to Frenny's the other day, there was a whole range of hot chocolates. Like, I
hmm?
mean, one just assumed that hot chocolate would be dark chocolate, milk chocolate, maybe at the most like orange or something. So where did your range of hot chocolates come from?
Yeah. No, so the thing is, I wanted to do something special for the winter season. And I've seen so many places having hot chocolates here, and all of them are great. But I'm like, first of all, it's so hard to get an alcohol license here
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Bombay.
yeah.
I'm like, I have an alcohol license. Why don't I use that for like my hot chocolates? Because who doesn't love like alcohol and like chocolate, right? So then we
So
have
how
like
did you how did you go to the police and say I'm the original resident, so give me an alcohol license? How did it work?
no, I had to go through the same procedure. It was a big headache.
You
Uh,
can't just say that, okay, I'm the original
so
second.
yeah,
My great grandmother was here.
seriously. Yeah, in fact, I should just be like, I can keep it. You
Yeah,
guys
yeah.
can't
You
tell
should
me
say that
otherwise.
I am the one who'll give you a license.
Yeah.
Okay, so after that you came to India and you started Monet. Was how what
No,
is the
so there were two more things that happened. So after the Four Seasons, I didn't quite enjoy living in Florida, so I went back to New York and I worked for 9 months in Epicerie Buluth, which is the same restaurant group as Daniel, but it was more like a patisserie. So I
oh,
learned a lot about like big scale production and stuff there. And then we also actually, so they would also supply all the desserts for Tiffany's Blue Box Cafe, the Tiffany
wow,
Cafe. And I
wow.
had made the croquembouche, like my team, obviously, my team together had made the croquembouche for Priyanka Chopra's bridal shower. So I
Wow.
remember like making that, and my chef was like, Freny, you're on the team for the croquembouche. So, okay, I'm like making the croquembouche and all. And the neck, and it's really hard, like because when you're making the dipping the shoe in the caramel, you like burn all your fingers because you have to cover it all the way.
Yeah. And hot caramel, right?
Hot caramel, yeah. You have to keep on like heating it
Uh,
up. And so we make the kombucha and all of that. And next day I'm going through my Instagram and I'm looking at like Priyanka Chopra's post and I see like a crocobus because my chef had no idea it was for Priyanka Chopra. And I see her like with our crocomouche, and I'm like, wait a second, like we made that. And then I went to work and I showed it to everyone, and they were all like so excited and all
did you
because they
DM her like अपना ही देशवासी ने बनाया
no, I DM'd her, but she didn't see my see my DM, obviously. Like I
Priyanka
put up a
Chopra, if you're
story.
watching, then you should
Yes.
maybe you should
Yeah.
go on Cyrus
Yeah.
Speaks if for her to watch it.
Yeah.
So then,
Then I worked there, and then I also did. I came back, and because you can only get a 1 year visa after your college. So after that was done, then I came back, and then for a while I was like, okay, what do I do and stuff, and I felt like I needed to still learn a little bit more. So then I went and I did an internship at Noma in Copenhagen,
okay, wow.
and
Um,
and
and how
I
long was that for?
that was a month long. So there I went and I was like, okay, like I saw like the work culture and I saw even though on the first day usually the interns they put them to like do like the basic stuff. You're just doing prep or all fun stuff actually. They because I had friends also from India who were with me and they take you foraging on a weekend. Like they'll just take you to Norway or somewhere and they're like now go in the forest and just pick out like the wildflowers and all. So they did all the fun stuff. But me on the first day itself, I don't know because they saw my resume or what, like what is the reason that they did that? That the first day itself, they put me on the line, like to do service. So I'm like on the first day, I'm like, okay, I'm prepping because we came in at I think 7 a.m. They call you because there's at any time at Noma, they have 25 interns and 25 people who actually work there. And the interns are all the unpaid interns um, from all across the world because everybody wants to learn from them and all of that. So I'm like, okay, 7 a.m. and the first dinner I think starts around 6:30 I think. And okay, I'm like, doing all of that and all. And by 8:30, they're like, okay, now you can wrap it up and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, cool. So it's like a 12, 13 hour shift. Like I'm okay with that. And then they're like, okay, clean everything up and now set up for the second dinner service. And I'm like, what? There's a second dinner service? And then I'm like, okay, the second dinner service starts and it goes on till like 12, like midnight. So I was literally there from 7 in the morning till 12 in the night. And I was just like, and it took me an hour to reach home. So by the time I was home, it was 1 o'clock, and then I had to leave again at 6. So I had to wake up at 5. So I had to literally like sleep for 4 hours and then go back to work. So the work culture there is quite like,
Is it
you know,
like they show in Bear? I don't know if you've seen it.
yes, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
it's like
yeah.
that.
It's like that.
That's
But I feel
stressful.
like, yeah, it is quite stressful. The chefs are actually quite nice compared to like a French kitchen, because everybody spoke very respectfully and they would call everyone chef, not just like somebody who's above you and all of that. But work timing wise, it was crazy because making people work for 15, 6, not 15, how many, 7, 7, I think
14
16,
and a half.
17 hours
Oh,
a day.
goodness.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So
And
then,
did you get to meet the chef Rennie,
yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
You
So then
interacted with him?
I'm sorry.
You interacted with him?
Yes, so he would always come and talk to us and stuff. So he's very like hands-on. He would be there
Wow.
every day. Him with his
Wow.
wife, his kids, they would all, be there at the restaurant,
Wow.
especially during service time and all of that. So they were very like, it was a very like family kind
And
of
how
a.
did you manage an internship over there? You send your
So I sent many emails. So I would keep on following up because at that time, like I said, I felt like I wanted to learn more. So I had applied there. I had applied to Oceano in Dubai, and I had applied in Spain at that time. I think I don't remember where, to Mugaritz or some other restaurant. I remember. No, no,
okay.
I think I had applied to El Cellar de Can Roca, and
Oh,
then
so
I'm like,
you only go for number one. Because I think Roca
I'm
was
like,
also number one at one point, and of course,
yeah,
Noma was
yeah,
number one in that top 50.
yeah,
You only go
yeah.
for number one, this thing.
No, yeah, I wanted to learn from the best. I'm
So
like, I don't want to.
soon Freny will also be over there, and
Yeah.
then Freny's people will want to, send a
Yes, I
resume.
hope so. One day.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so then from there, what happened after that?
Then I came back and I opened Moner. I actually like I came back and my dad has a few hotels, so I actually tried, going and working there and all of that. And
And he's in construction, right?
he's
So,
in construction
so
also.
in partnership, he has a.
Yeah, so he actually got those hotels in the last like 10 years, thinking that I would get into it because now I'm in the hospitality industry, so it's like the same thing. And he
Hmm.
thought he would set me up by, doing that
Ah,
for me. And I'm like, I tried doing it for like a few months, but I'm like, I'm a chef, I need to be in the kitchen and I need to do, work. I need to work with my hands. I need to interact with guests and all of that. So then I told my dad that I want to open my own place. And at that time, I had a very, like strong passion and I wanted to open India's first dessert bar. So I'm like, I
hmm,
want to,
hmm,
and nobody understood. Back then, everybody was like, what's happening? My
hmm.
interior designer had no idea what I wanted. My broker, I'm trying to tell him that I need to find a place in Bandra and I need this. And he's like, okay, so pitch your brand to me so that I can, tell the landlord and stuff. And I was like, there's no brand, it's a new place
Yeah.
and it's going to be a dessert bar. And they're like, what is a dessert bar and all of that? So I just had to say cafe. It's a
Ah,
cafe. I'm telling everyone it's a cafe and all of that. But yeah, so eventually we found a nice place. And then we started our work. We were 1 month into our interior work and all of that. And that's when COVID happened. So then everything was just like a blur from then on. And I think for around we had like a 9 or 10 months delay because of
yeah.
COVID during that
Yeah.
time. And then whatever followed through, after that, the restrictions and the different guidelines and all of that.
And also, your model was not really amenable for delivery because you're like a desert bar has to
Yeah,
experience. You have to be at
yeah,
the,
yeah,
you have
yeah,
to be at the, I've been to like desert bars in Madrid and all that. Or Barcelona. You need to be there. You can't like uh,
yeah.
send it in a box.
Yeah, so that was my biggest problem actually. I think after the first lockdown, it was still okay because then I did like my whole launch and I had my plated desserts. We had like 5 courses of plated desserts then,
Yes.
and we had it with like tea pairings and coffee pairings and all of that.
Yeah.
And it did quite like we got a great response from people. People were loving this
Yeah.
concept of
Yeah.
doing like this multi-course dessert thing. But after the second lockdown, then again we had like the whole time restriction and the delivery problem. So then we had to constantly improvise. So then I did more pastries that could be delivered.
Hmm.
I did like shoe boxes and eclairs, tarts, stuff that I knew I could deliver. And I had to keep on changing like my menu and my my because my whole concept in the beginning was it's a cafe till 7 p.m. and then post 7 p.m. it turns into a dessert bar and then you only get desserts and all of that. And I'm like, after that, the whole restriction thing, I'm like, my whole concept had gone for a toss. So then I had to like do desserts like all day round and just
Mhm.
like make all those changes and stuff. Then we started doing high tea there, and high tea was doing really well there.
Mhm.
So I want to sort of bring all of that back here, obviously, but yeah, one thing at a time.
And then you left it and you shut it down.
Yeah, so then there was actually a lot of back and forth with the landlord ever since the COVID time. So we had, like we faced a lot of trouble from him actually. So by the end of it, we were so troubled by that we were just like, let's just find a new place and let's, stop this here. And the rents were very high there, like anywhere in Bandra,
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah. And that was high
Uh,
street, yeah.
yeah, so then like lucky me, or like I'm blessed to have like my father who gifted me the place that I am in right now, like the Frenny's place. So then
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about rent or anything anymore. So I decided to keep, because I liked this place because it was a ground floor and first floor setup. So then I knew that on the ground floor I can do my dessert bar and do my Moner here, and upstairs can be more like a proper restaurant setup.
So it was so Frenies became like a completely or a big deviation from Moner, because like you said, I mean, downstairs you could still sort of recreate that, but
Yeah,
then it became like a restaurant format, continental, little bit of East Indian. I remember in the menu in the beginning, which
yeah,
got very excited when I heard there's an East Indian place opening, and then I said, okay, but where's the East Indian dishes? And
yeah,
then slowly, like it's been a year, and your menu has progressed. So how did this idea come about? Because you've been this like dessert person and dessert bar and high tea and all of that. So from
yeah.
there to like open a restaurant and then to go beyond the raviolis which you have, of course, on the menu, but
Hmm.
to to sourpatel and chinchoni and puris, the yellow
Yeah, 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 the
curries,
yellow curry.
puris.
Yeah, yeah.
How did that leap happen?
So the thing is, I always wanted to open an East Indian restaurant. Like it was always there in the back of my mind. But I just felt like I wasn't ready when I just started Moner.
Huh.
I felt like at that time I wasn't ready. Like I still felt like I needed that more experience and all of that. And whenever I did open an Eastern restaurant, I felt like I would need like the alcohol and like a
Hmm.
bigger space and all of those
Hmm.
other things
Hmm.
that come with
Hmm.
opening a big restaurant.
Hmm.
But when I was opening Frenny's, I was still not actually the main um, sort of doubt that I always had is, will people come in to have East Indian food? Because
Hmm.
either half the people don't know about it, and the people who do know about it, I'm like, the East Indians already get this food at home.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't know if they would come out to a restaurant to have
Hmm.
the food.
Hmm.
And the other people who don't know about it, I'm like, I don't know if they'll be open to it, because it's a little
Hmm.
different than Goan food and Mangalorean food and all. So
Hmm.
then I'm like, okay, let me do a menu that
Hmm.
speaks more about my journey as a chef, my
Hmm.
culinary journey as a chef, because at last I'm not just an East Indian, but I have also, as a
Yeah,
professional chef, all
yeah.
these other experiences that I have. So I'm
True.
like, let this be, which is actually is like the interiors, the way we've done it, we've made it like a home with the picture frames and the doily on the speakers and like the fabric that we've used, or like whatever. So
Yeah, it was very cozy when I went there, and
yeah,
two different formats. Like there was a restaurant and the cafe-like thing downstairs, and I was by
yeah,
myself. And generally, also we are more comfortable in cafe sort of formats. So
yeah,
sitting there and getting, the food, and I can imagine also if you're like with a family, then upstairs. What I
yeah,
also find interesting is that people who are in your generation would still be thinking of like doing international cuisines, or right now it's Asian and Korean and Japanese. So I don't think too many people, I mean, I don't know what your experience is, but I don't think too many people would be looking at getting, their own community food or Indian food, like, and also like in hospitality institutes in India, culinary courses. I mean, it's primarily French cuisine and Asian
yeah.
taught. So,
Hmm.
what makes you different? I mean, what made you sort of uh, What and guys, it's called Frenies, and therefore, like, when she said that it's her home, I mean, the name sort of this thing. But I mean, what made you sort of interested in this? What made you different? And you went to CIA and studied all of that. So yeah, what made you interested in this?
So what I feel is it's not just that people don't want to do it. I felt like people also don't have the confidence to do it, because
Mm,
there's also the market who mainly wants like the Asian food, or even in Indian they
yeah.
want the North Indian food.
Yes.
And I feel like now is a time in the culinary landscape in our country where there's actually places with regional cuisine coming
Mm,
up and people are recognizing it and appreciating it. So now for people like me, we have a little bit more confidence saying that, okay, we can try doing this
yes.
and see how people will respond to it and stuff. And it's also this appreciation for chefs, which has come now in the last, I think, 10 years or so, which before it was like, ah, chef, like, bawarchi or whatever they would call us, stuff like that. I feel like this appreciation is sort of coming now in like the last, the last couple of years. And now people are actually recognizing chefs as like a reputable, job, or somebody, like it's more exciting now. I don't know, thanks to maybe MasterChef Australia and all the other shows that have, come around. But now people sort of respect the profession more. And I feel like that's why there's people like me, the chefs like me, who have this confidence saying that, let me try this out. And the thing is, for me, I always wanted to do something with my community's food, because I'm like, nobody knows about it. We're
Mm,
the, even though we are from Bombay, like we are the people of
yeah.
here,
Yeah.
nobody's heard of us.
Yeah.
Nobody knows, what our food is, or what, because even things like the Indial or the Sorpatel and all of that, people always confuse it with the Goan dishes. While they also have the same dishes,
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
dishes are quite different.
Absolutely.
So that's how I was like, no, I have to like at some point open like an East Indian restaurant. And when I opened Frenny's, I was like, okay, like first when I started, I added like a few dishes because I
Yeah.
didn't know
Yeah.
how
In fact, that's
open.
what I also then I said, okay, there's not that much. So, you know,
Yeah. So then I was like, okay, people are actually asking for it. First, I'm like, okay, let me try it out by
uh,
keeping like a few fusion things.
yes,
And
yes.
then I think we had two or three curries. We just had the khuddi curry, which is my dad's, like the Peter's mutton curry. We call it that here. It's my dad's
But
recipe. It's the
interestingly, you didn't mention, you haven't referred to it as a
khuddi
foodie
curry.
curry,
Yeah. So it
because
is a
I
khuddi
know of
curry.
foodie
Yeah.
curry. So I was
Yeah.
looking for that in the side. It didn't strike me that,
Yeah. So that
that
is a mutton curry. So we just
yeah.
have one kind of mutton curry. But I initially when I started it,
And it has potatoes. So fellow
it has
Bengali.
potatoes. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Bengalis love it. They think that it's like the same as their own mutton curry. So I started it. I called it Peter's mutton curry, and now everybody, like even the guests, they don't call it as like a mutton curry or whatever. They'll either. And I've been. The thing is, it's such a nice thing that I get to interact with so many of my guests, and they've come here, and they've loved the food and all of that,
So
and
who
they
are
keep
your
it.
guests? I mean, the demographics of your guests would be what? Are they cosmopolitan? Are they East Indians? Are they particular age group, family, single? Like, tell me,
So I feel
what have
like
you observed?
70% of them are East Indians or some kind of Catholics.
So actually, you're saying that East Indians, Catholics, Goans are actually coming to eat
Are
it.
coming, yeah, are
So
coming to
your
eat the
worry
food.
was that, ghar ka khana, so why not
Yeah,
eat?
because they
So,
don't get this food at home anymore. Nobody
mm,
gets like, because it's
mm,
so tedious and like time
yeah,
consuming to
yeah,
make like
yeah,
sarpatel or fugyas or any of
yeah,
the stuff.
yeah.
That they actually come, especially for like special occasions and stuff. And we get a lot of families. So it's mainly like big groups of 7, 8, 10, 15 people. And contrary to what I thought, because I made the restaurants layout as such that I did a lot of tables of twos, because I thought in Bandra usually people go out as a couple and there's a lot of
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
but it's like we only get like bigger families, always people more than four. We hardly ever get, like, we do get a lot of couples, but mainly like big families who come in for like their celebrations or birthdays or whatever it is. And
And I believe 2 days back, the first time you had one person at a table.
yeah.
And,
Sometimes you occasionally get
and they
only
kept telling me, no, 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 this is too much. This is too much order. I said,
too
no,
much.
I packed the stuff. And I packed it and I finished it all that night. I had
Yeah,
between Kenas and I, we finished everything. So,
no.
sometimes
So
out of politeness, one packs because one doesn't want to waste it.
yeah.
Uh, okay, now tell me. So you went to CIA, you got a training in all these Mission Start restaurants and reputable ones and stuff. But where did you get the East Indian recipes from?
So that's all my
Um,
mom. That's all my mom and my grandmom's recipe.
and
And
one
that's
is your dad's. The mutton curry is your
the
dad.
mutton curry is my dad's, and he takes full credit from me. You will see him here on a Sunday. They usually come on the weekends here,
Huh,
and he's proudly standing. So he'll go in the kitchen, he'll
huh,
make some curry, then he'll come out, he'll see which table is taking the mutton curry, and then he'll
huh.
go, "Kaisa
So
laga?"
then this is
Mutton
Hisab
curry.
Barabar. He gave you the space, but
Yeah,
this is your pay.
yeah,
Now it's an even
yeah.
thing.
No, in fact, he's asking me for like his royalty for using his recipe and all of that.
Yeah.
No, no, no,
Yes,
so
but
that's a
jokes
more
apart,
fun.
like you were saying, it's your mom's, grandmom's, and because not much documented. I think there's only one East Indian recipe book, which I'm aware of, but even that I
Yeah,
can't.
yeah. So
And some
there
others have
are
shared.
very few. There's maybe now there are a few, like I have as many as there. I think there's some 3 or 4 books that I have. But other than that, it's not documented as much. And everybody has just their own family recipes because these are like aunties don't like sharing their recipes with, anyone else. So usually you're stuck with just what your family has been making. And
Yeah.
the bottle masala recipe also gets passed down from like one generation to other. Like,
And it's some crazy thing, no? It's someone says it has to be only 32 spices, someone else would say
yeah,
33. It's between
yeah,
30 and 30. 32 and
yeah.
35 is the magic number.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
but I was
yeah.
lucky, Chef Alu Aloysius, he'd called me over once when the women had come over to make that
The
spice.
masalas. Yeah, yeah,
Quite
yeah.
fascinating before the monsoon and
Yeah,
ugly women, they
yeah,
were doing, and in fact I've
yeah.
got it recorded also. So it was quite no one thing is and of course you're lucky that you come. What if the mom or the grandmom are not good cooks and you're stuck with that?
Yeah. No, no, lucky for me. And the thing is, it's also something that I've learned is that, and this is like this big eye-opening sort of a thing. It's like a moment of my life that I will like always. I'll remember that this is sort of a turning point of me as a chef because I've always seen these French chefs cook, and I've seen them, do all of these procedures and follow all these recipes and all of that. And this whole time, like whatever mom or grandma would cook, would be like, huh, like it's like everyday ghar ka khana, all of that. And now that I opened a restaurant and my mom has been coming here and teaching the chefs how to make it, and I'm seeing the amount of love and detail she puts into each recipe. Like, no, 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 this has to go in at this time. This has to happen at this time. This is exactly how much masala you use. And it's all, nothing is written. It's all by the feel and by the eye. Like, ये ऐसा होगा ना कांदा तभी मसाला डालना ये like all of those small things. And I'm like, this is crazy, like this is crazy level of attention, and this is something that not even the French chefs do because this is like literally like so much love also put into it, right? So I'm
And this
like,
is the story of one family, one kitchen. So
there's so
imagine like
many.
across
Yeah.
India,
Mhm.
East
Yeah,
India, across Mumbai, East Indians,
yeah,
Mumbai, across the country, like there must be so much
yeah.
knowledge over there. I mean,
Yes, exactly. And we take it for granted and we feel like it's nothing. But I feel like moms, like they're the best cooks. And they also, because they've learned throughout the years, like my mom has been cooking for some 30 years now. But this was like an eye-opening moment where I'm like, my mom is like the best chef that I've ever known, actually.
so
Yeah.
now tell me, one is ghar ka khana, and like you said, I mean, it depends so much on the mom's personal touch or grannies, or let's not discount Peter's
Peter's
mutton
mutton
curry and
curry.
mutton cooking skills. There's something about men and mutton, even in Bengali
Yeah.
families,
Is
like,
it?
on Sunday, the man of the house will make mutton
Oh, is it? I didn't know that.
and then make a full mess of the kitchen and all that.
Kitchen, yeah.
Come in and
Same
yeah.
story.
No, but I'm saying that I'm sure that this is where your experience as the chef comes in, right? Because to convert those recipes into a restaurant format, which
Yeah.
then doesn't depend on, the home chef being there at all points, but to
Hmm.
standardize it, so
Yeah.
that there's a certain consistency, and
Yeah.
also to sort of make it a bit more appealing to a
Yeah.
restaurant audience.
Yeah.
I mean that, and at the same time, like when I went and ate there, um, it's like it was all sort of familiar. Like it wasn't like a modern Indian restaurant with
Yeah.
swirls and all of that. But
Hmm.
at the same time, I'm sure that the food, the way it was presented, was a bit different from the average. East Indian home. So
Yeah.
how did that work out in terms of, making a certain consistency to it, structure to it, and you know?
So that's where me as a chef had to like, use my brains and see, because it's very difficult to present Indian food beautifully, especially curries and stuff,
Yeah.
because it's just one color, throughout, right? Even for pictures and all of that. So in
But the
that way,
Baigan curry, Baigan potato curry,
hmm,
looked so beautiful to me.
yeah,
It reminded me of that Hyderabad Baigan Salan, and coincidentally, I think your manager is from Hyderabad as well.
Hyderabad, yeah,
But when I had it, it was so different. Because the ones I've had in Hyderabad are very heavy, very sour,
yeah,
strong, mustard seed crunches from what I've had. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
but yours was very mellow. And what I loved was that the consistency, the texture of the baigan, the
yeah,
brinjal, it's so easy to make it mushy. But yours was nice. It held its form and yet was soft. And of course, the potatoes, I mean, they were like thinly
like
sliced, and
slice, yeah.
and that had a completely different texture. Sorry, I forgot what we were talking about because I got so lost in the thought of the bacon and potato curry. But yeah, you're talking about
So the
how
whole
difficult it's to make Indian food look good.
Yeah, look
Yeah,
good. So it was just like all of that, and just like standardizing the recipes, like you said, making sure that in each, like when we were training the chefs, like although my mom was like teaching them how to make it, so then the whole part of, because in a busy restaurant, it can't be like home where you aram say like you're cooking and all of that. So just to make sure like how to do all our mise en place correctly, and then um, uh, with the presentation of the dishes, I feel like I had to do so many of these trial and errors and all, and especially like, so what we've done at Frenny's is, with the small plates, with the appetizers, I've tried to make it more fusion and
yeah.
more fun, and even the presentation is like a little different, and I've kept the curries like classic, like how it's supposed to be and stuff. So I
Hmm.
played around with my own, like my starters and stuff like that, and then I've kept like the curries as it is. We do like simple garnishes, but my crockery and all, I've made sure it's very nice and like
Yeah, yeah,
still
yes,
homely, still so
yes,
that it looks like it's at home, but still like
yes,
a little nicer.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And how does your team react to it? I mean, like the chefs in your team, all of that, because I'm sure they would have also had aspirations of working in like international, continental, French, Asian. So are they excited about, working in something like
So
that?
yes, because I feel like they're still getting to learn something new, and that's what I try to motivate them every day. And I'm like, there's a certain vision that we're all working towards, where when it comes to Frennies, and I think we're quite aligned all in that way, that we want people to recognize the food that we do, recognize East Indian food. Not just that, even our pastries, because like our desserts are like people quite like love them, and it sort of got featured in like a few places like Moner
Yeah, I
and
believe the Matilda went viral and went to Virgin Atlantic
their
magazine.
in-flight magazine, yes, and also Moner.
And again, when I had the Matilda, it had that very comforting,
Yeah,
like it
yeah,
brought out the child in you. Like it
yeah,
wasn't, I mean, it was complex in terms of the texture and everything,
yeah.
but at the same time, there was a very, there was something very comforting about it.
Comforting, yeah. And that's what I sort of wanted to go for in that, because the thing is, I've realized that I've done so many of these super technical French desserts. Like I have this apple shaped dessert, and there's like different inserts inside, like different layers. And then I have something called Jada du Rose, which is like a garden of rose, and has like a rose parfait and all of that. But I realized that sometimes you just want a good chocolate cake, like me as a
It's like
chef
at the
also
end
agree.
of a dance, evening, you
Yeah.
want a summer of 69 at the end.
Yes,
You
yes.
can have your like,
Yeah.
hard
Yeah.
metal or you'd
Yeah.
like Dua Lipas or Coldplays. But at the
Yeah.
end of it, you want your summer of 69 too. So I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, or
unless
just
if
or a classic
that cake,
Bollywood. Yeah,
unless
like
that cake.
something to like bring you back home, like like
Yes,
that.
yes,
So I
yes.
feel like we needed like that one classic like chocolate cake, and I always wanted to do, because I've grown up watching the movie Matilda, and I've seen like the kid Bruce like eat that chocolate cake. I'm like, I really want to like recreate like that
Isn't that
cake.
a horror film?
And no,
Okay, I'm talking about
I
a
think
different
it's
one.
a like, children's
Okay,
thriller
okay. I'm
sort
thinking
of
of
a
a
thing.
different film. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, so I remember that movie. So I'm like, so that's a very cute like movie, and I remember watching it as a child and all of that. I'm like, no, I have to like recreate that cake, and so I ended up doing that. But I didn't expect it at all. Like I didn't expect it to go viral or for people to love it so much, because I'm like, after all the fancy desserts that I've done, that chocolate cake is the one that gets all the people talking about it and stuff. But other than that, also in Moner, we had been featured by the National Geographic UK, the magazine, and I
Wow.
didn't even know about this until somebody sent me the article, as the top 6 dessert restaurants in the world. So we were
In the
among
world.
in the world.
My
So
God.
in the article, there are 5 other places. There's Koi Dessert Bar by Renault from Australia. He was in MasterChef Australia. Then there's Cakes and Bubbles in London. There's Milk Bar in NYC, and there's like a few other places. I think
And
2
then
other
then
places.
then, then there's Moner in Turner
There's
Road.
Moner. Yes, yes, yeah, yeah.
That's lovely. Yeah, one of the things you spoke in the beginning about sexism in the kitchen. So do you see that changing, or the fact that I mean, you're the boss lady, but you have to work with like men and all that. So do you see that thing changing? That
So I feel like now that I've been like I've had my own business for 5 years now, I think 2025, yeah. So I sort of learned how to navigate through that. But in the beginning, I struggled a lot,
Hmm.
because in the beginning, even I was very stubborn. I'm like, why are these people not calling me chef? Because I'm like, I've earned this title, and it takes so much to earn the title of being a chef. And even though, the people are such that even though you're a chef or whatever, they'll still call you ma'am because they're used to that.
Uh,
And later on, I realized they're just used to that. They're not
and
doing
also,
it out of
ma'am is a thing of respect.
it's a thing of respect.
Yeah,
But for
yeah,
me, it was like I've earned this chef's title,
yeah, I
and
know.
they are calling like my June, like whoever's like we're working together, and there's like the CDP or these other people. So all my other people, they're calling them chef, they're calling this guy chef, but they're not calling me chef. So I would, and the other thing that I struggle with a lot is to just gain that respect from the staff, because the thing is um, the minute like a man says something, if you're
Yeah,
not doing
yeah,
something right, it's like completely fine. But the minute a lady says something to you, then it has like that may people have that male ego or whatever, and
yeah,
then they
yeah,
won't listen to you, or they'll quit, or they'll all like form like a the
yeah.
thing.
Boys cartel.
Yeah, that kind of a thing. So I sort of had to deal that like with that a lot in the beginning. Now I've sort of learned how to like even with like the BMC and all of that. There's always like that thing where they want to talk to like a man,
Hmm.
even though I speak Marathi and all of that,
Yeah,
it's
that's
my
a big
mother tongue.
difference.
Yeah, but they want to speak to a man. So my dad is always the one who's done like all my licenses and all of that for me. Because they just wouldn't want to like, negotiate or talk to me about anything. Um,
Yeah,
so in that sense, I did feel that even after being like an entrepreneur, I had to deal with, but then I feel like everybody has to deal with something.
yeah.
So then this is my journey as an entrepreneur, and that's what I had to sort of, learn how to navigate.
And all these stories, I mean, will lead to change. Like, for example, when you were talking about the perception of chefs
Hmm.
changing, and now you're also adding to that. So I'm
Yeah.
sure if today there was a Freny who wanted to tell her dad that I want to go to study to be a chef, she wouldn't need to hide under a blanket.
Yeah, yeah.
She could also go and
Because
and
now
what
there are
a
so many examples of chefs who are doing so
yeah,
well now,
yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, we've
Yeah.
interviewed so many of them. I
Yeah.
mean, so what next for Frenies? With a year down the line.
So I am really excited about this next year, because I feel like this year, even though it was new, I was still learning, what to do, what not to do, and all of that. And now I feel like I've sort of, and also like my whole wedding planning and all of that. But now I'm like super focused on what I'm supposed to do, and I feel like I really want like at uh, like the main thing that we all sort of the whole team is sort of working towards is for more people to sort of know what East Indian food is.
Non-East Indians, yeah.
The non-East Indians too, like we want to take it to that level. Even with our food, we're constantly experimenting. I'm like, how can we make our food better? And I'm trying to get more, maybe a few lesser known East Indian dishes, maybe doing a few pop-ups with
Yeah.
actual aunties, who would come in here and cook. And I feel like people would really love that, because they're loving this homely vibe that they're getting from the place.
Hmm.
So I think that, and also for Moner, I want to do a lot more with Moner. I don't want to sort of let go of my brand that I built then, because we were, known for our high teas and our cakes and stuff. So I want to bring that back in as well.
But
Um,
you mentioned brand, and one thing which I've noticed is that you've used social media a fair bit. So is that working well for you?
Yeah, actually, surprisingly, yes, because during Moner's time, I never really like I would just post pictures and stuff. And now after Reels and all I've started, I've truly learned like the magic of social media. Because after that first video of ours went viral, our Mumbai foodie video,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
people, it just shows like that one video is circulating throughout the world, and people from across the world are coming or they're sending their family to the restaurant. So I've sort of really learned like the power
Or
of.
even your that theme of glossary of East Indian words.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I use that a lot to educate people. Just like few things, nothing like too serious, but we just do
Yeah.
like fun stuff. Like we have this East Indian dictionary, so we just take out like a word of the week, and like just let people know about that or something about the food, one of the dishes. We'll just talk about that. And now also I just got married, so I want to post a lot of that content so people get to know what an East Indian wedding is like.
Yes.
Also,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes. So, lovely, Fanny. In fact, one thing which struck me is that, there must have been this like real dampener, like when you have to shut down Monet. And then, this entire story of Freny is with Monet growing and this completely different thing, which you probably would never have thought of. In fact, in Buddhism, there's this phrase which is turning poison into medicine. So,
yeah,
you do this
yeah,
situation which would have been poison and then, metaphorically, and then through all your hard work,
yeah,
and I mean, you were talking of good fortune, but one creates one fortune. So
yeah.
I think that all the hard work which you've put in got reflected, and people sort of supporting you, and the great thing which great product which you have, because it can't be all talk and intent.
Yeah,
And I think that what you're doing is great because, I mean, the East Indian community is integral to our city. The food is just fabulous, and the world needs to know about it, needs to taste it. So so keep at it, and hopefully more
thank you so much.
non-East Indians, more younger folks will also start going. uh,
Yeah,
I'll keep doing whatever little bit I can, but
thank you so much.
I'm glad that now there's a place where one can go and try it. So just keep one table, single seat reserved, because
Always,
it's
always.
more and more crowded, you know. But
We'll always have a table for you.
all the best, and
Thank
thank
you
you
so
so much.
much.
And folks, Frenies is in Mumbai. It's in Bandra. You should sort of travel and go there. And of course, it's there on delivery as well. And yeah, happy birthday. So I heard that everyone gets a free cake because of the birthday. No, I just joke. Suddenly you'll have everyone lining up
We're
for
lining up, yeah, yeah.
Matilda,
No, no, but we'll do
and
a special.
again,
We can
Dad
do
will
a
have to empty his purse strings again.
no, no. We can do a special cupcake or something for the birthday. Obviously, like we'll do
Yes,
something
yes,
special.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all the best, and all the best to
Thank
both
you so much.
you and Adit. All the best for Fresh Catch and
Thank you so much for having me on
yes.
your show.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Bye.